at our 100 degrees and very dry, and all of a sudden for the next day or two it might be raining. Well, anyway, this morning it's raining. I had a nice hearty breakfast, waffles. I like waffles. Anyway, what I thought I'd do today is something that I usually don't do, which is to savor the moment or to enjoy the process of bonsai, of being able to work slowly and, get things done. But occasionally, this is what I do. Well, what we're going to be working on today is my Uncle Yutaka, or we always called him Uncle Taka. It was one of his. It's a root over rock elm. And what I wanted to do was go ahead and do it nice and slow, reminisce about my relationship with my uncle. So today we're going to take things slow and easy, just the way I think bonsai as a hobby should be taken. So let's take our little slow trip together, and I'll be enjoying the process. So for most of you, I think this is the way bonsai should be, to take your time and then think about things or get away from things. A lot of us right now are stressed because of the situation with the pandemic. Well, luckily for me, I have so much work that it's more or less out of my mind, other than the fact that I can't leave. I'm not sure whether I told you or not, but my uncle was the one that got me involved more or less with the bonsai. When I was young, I think in my teens, he took me to the Sierra Bonsai Club meeting. They would meet in Penryn at the Buddhist church once a month. And it's kind of funny. Those old timers, they would get together on a Sunday morning, and they had this big pot of coffee that is being brewed, right? But instead of cream, they would add those little spirits. Oh my gosh, they were the most drinkingest bunch of people ever. Those are I'm not sure whether it was in the late 50s. I think probably more like the 60s. Anyway, he took me to a couple of those. Well, this Sierra Bonsai group, I found out later from one of the club historians that there were 7 founding members to it, and 2 was from my family. So my Uncle Yutaka and my grandfather. I knew Uncle did it because he's the one that pointed me to this art form, but I didn't know Grandpa did it. Anyway, that's sort of the rough history. But I distinctly remember, I says, oh my gosh, what are you putting in that coffee? I think one of the most popular one with the Japanese was the Segan 7. And as I was off to college, he gave me a book on bonsai, and I looked it over. I didn't really get heavily involved with it till after college. Well, backtracking, my uncle, he's American born. He didn't get married till very late in his life, so no kids. Actually, our aunt, the one that he married, was a very good family friends way back. So it was not like, it was anybody strange. Anyway, she was living in Japan as an optometrist. And my uncle, most of the time, he was here. But then after he got married, he was back and forth, back and forth. So what happened was anybody that went from this country to Japan, he was the tour guide. Fast forward, I have gotten through with college, and I got into the bonsai pot import business. Well, every time I'm there, he would take me places that have things to do with bonsai. Oh yeah, my uncle was a bargain hunter. So if you go to Japan, in the department store, they have a floor. I can't remember which floor, but they have all this bargain things. So anyway, I have fond memories of things like that. So this tree is quite old. How old, I'm not sure. You were lucky enough to have inherited some of the works of your friends or relatives. You could take the time, work on it, and kind of reminisce about the good old days. This one is a concave cutter, but very specialized. In fact, I've forgotten how to use it. There's a spring that's on there, so yeah, well, I've had these tools for over 30 years, and a lot of it I haven't used much, mainly because they're great tools, but because of the hardened steel, when you drop it on concrete, you'll break usually the tip. Now, what I'm going to do today is get it super clean, but it won't be the finish because it'll be slightly overpruned, and then in the next couple of weeks it'll grow back, and then touching up, that will get me closer to the finish. But because it was so normally I use tools that is easy to replace. And remember about these and how you could pinch yourself? Yeah, that was the other thing. So if you hear me yell out, that means that I did it again, pinch myself. As I'm starting to wrap this up, I have another little interesting story about my uncle and the Sierra Bonsai Group. Okay, well, the group had must be a good 150 people that were members, but they did not do bonsai. What happened was all these people were members, and there was maybe half a dozen people that actually knew bonsai. So all you had to do was come in the morning once a month to the church, and you could drink your little happy hour coffee, and it was getting done. But the story that I wanted to convey was the New Year party. Okay, this was, let's say, in the early 60s when the Issei, or the first generation, was still very active. And, within the family, there were always somebody that was a great cook. When you have 150 families trying to outdo each other at the potluck, oh my gosh, there was some of the best food ever. Hey, what can I say? I remember food very well, even as a youngster. So anyway, that's the last story that you're going to hear from me for a while about the Sierra Bonsai Group. But oh my gosh, those were the good old days. I mean, good old days. So I'm going to... I bet you never see me do this in any of my other episodes. But hey, I'm trying to get this just right. Well, let's take a look at the finished product. This is up front, right? And you see this part is the rock, and this part is the elm. But you see how it's starting to roll over the rock? This is something that you will not get unless you spend the time. This is exactly how my uncle left it. No, it's gone through different phases, and this is the current look. This might have been shot many other times, but this is what it looks like in the month of May in the year 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So I'm going to say thank you for hanging out with me as I reminisce about my past with this bonsai. So we'll say goodbye for now. See you again real soon in another chapter, but you will not see me work at this very slow pace. Because let's face it, I'm commercial. But occasionally I do take the time and just enjoy the process. So hopefully got a little long and it's got a lot of philosophical stuff in here, but you enjoyed hanging out with me this Sunday morning as it's raining outside. So anyway, stay safe everybody, and I'll see you again at a much quicker pace.